This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. The Hyundai Group is making a massive investment in the U.S. over the next 3 years. Between now and 2028, it's going to spend $21 billion to expand production, invest in technology, and help grow the EV charging infrastructure. The U.S. is the group's biggest sales market, which helps explain the company's willingness to pump so much money into the region. But it should also allow the group to avoid any import tariffs and comply with any rules or agreements around the amount of local content required in a vehicle. And here's a breakdown of how that $21 billion will be spent. $9 billion will go towards expanding and upgrading its production facilities, with the goal of increasing U.S. production to 1.2 million units. $6 billion is being allocated to localize production of certain parts like battery packs and build a new steel mill in Louisiana that can make up to 2.7 million tons of steel a year. Another $6 billion will help the Hyundai Group expand partnerships, including robots with Boston Dynamics, AI and AV solutions with NVIDIA, eVTOLs with Supernal, and supplying robotaxis to Waymo. And the last $6 billion is being invested into energy projects like the EV charging network. The group says these investments will result in 14,000 new direct full-time jobs and more than 100,000 total job opportunities. Speaking of Hyundai, it teased a new video game-inspired version of its Inster EV that it says it will officially unveil early next month. With a massive rear wing, large fenders with air louvers on top, and what looks like a big front diffuser, the Steroids, as it's called, looks like it's ready to race up Pikes Peak. But for now, this is a one-off concept car. Volkswagen's attempts to develop its own software through Cariad, a division it set up to specifically develop software, have not gone well. It posted an operating loss of 2.4 billion euros last year. Issues have caused vehicle delays, and according to reports, VW is going to slash a significant amount of Cariad's workforce. This is why the automaker is turning to Rivian and Horizon Robotics for help on software, ADAS, and autonomous driving. But those partnerships really only cover VW's electric vehicles. So it's teaming up with Valeo and Mobileye to develop driver assistance systems for ICEs. The two suppliers will provide all the hardware, including cameras and radar, and the software needed to run the systems, which are all controlled by a centralized unit, which replaces multiple computers. The tech will be implemented into upcoming vehicles based on the MQB platform and will have up to level 2+ hands-free driving capability. GM hopes to cut thousands of dollars from its vehicle logistics costs and compete more with automakers that offer direct sales by expanding its use of regional hubs. These hubs are filled with rows and rows of vehicles just waiting to be shipped off to a nearby dealer. So if a certain brand or model isn't available at a particular dealer, one gets sent from the hub, which can cut shipping time from as much as 3 months to as little as 4 days. Only EVs have filled these hubs since they launched in 2022, but now the 3-row Chevy Traverse is being thrown into the pool. With the speedier delivery through its online sales tool, GM says it will eventually lead to savings of $2,000 per vehicle. And there's meant to be advantages for dealers too. GM owns the vehicles while they're at the hubs, and it covers all the costs to ship them. But that also causes problems. Because GM owns the vehicles, they're only listed on dealer and GM-owned sites online, not the popular car buying sites that most people visit. For that reason, Ford dropped a very similar program because its dealers never really got on board, and it's reverting back to its traditional sales process. So, we'll be interested to see if the same thing happens to GM.
There's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey, lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Teijin Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.
Waymo continues to expand. It announced plans to launch its autonomous ride-hailing service in Washington, D.C. next year. However, it does still need approval to deploy its fleet because the city doesn't currently allow fully autonomous operations. Right now, Waymo operates in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Phoenix, and Austin. And later this year, the service expands to Atlanta and Miami. Waymo says it's now providing 200,000 fully autonomous paid trips each week. Car sales in Europe were down in February. According to the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, automakers sold around 963,500 vehicles last month, down 3.1% from a year ago. Spain was the only major market in the region to see an increase in sales. It was ICE vehicles that dragged down the car market in February. Sales of gas-powered cars were down more than 23%, and diesel sales dropped 28%. While sales of electrified vehicles increased, it wasn't enough to offset that drop in ICE sales. Hybrids were up 18%, PHEV sales were flat, and more than 164,000 pure electrics were sold, up 26% compared to a year ago. But despite that big gain for BEVs, Tesla's sales slumped 40% in Europe last month. Chinese EV startup Xiaomi is seeing impressive growth, and it just raised a bunch more money. The company announced that it raised $5.5 billion in a share sale on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Xiaomi says the money will go towards expanding its business and its research and development. As we reported last week, the company is hiring former auto executives for its operations in Europe, and Xiaomi also recently increased its sales target this year to 350,000 vehicles, which is 50,000 units higher than its previous forecast. Audi is adding plug-in hybrids to both the sedan and wagon versions of the A5. Two power levels are offered, 220 and 270 kilowatts. The setup features a 2-liter gas engine, a 105 kilowatt electric motor, and a nearly 26 kilowatt-hour battery that has 45% more capacity than previous PHEV batteries. That bigger pack helps return an electric range of 110 kilometers or 68 miles, which is pretty good for a PHEV. The 220 kilowatt version moves from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 5.9 seconds, while the 270 kilowatt version does it in 5.1 seconds. The plug-in hybrid A5 is available for order at the end of the month in Europe. The sedan starts at 62,500 euros, and the wagon starts at 64,150 euros, or just over $69,000. But that brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for making Autoline a part of your day.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Intrepid Control Systems. Over-the-air engineering boost your game. And by Teijin Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility.
Developing today's vehicles. Issues can happen in an instant. When's the best time to solve a problem? The minute you know you have one. Meet Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your secure, off-the-shelf solution empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.